talk about longevity in the music business. Whether you're just a local guy playing in the clubs, or whether you're on the big stages, your dreams and aspirations for playing music, for playing it well into your later years. Is there a perfect genre of music to be an older musician? Well, I think maybe there is, with some side caveats. Okay, now, being an extreme heavy metal musician, that's going to have a lifespan on it. That's going to have a period of time where you'll be able to perform the music. And not talking about having assistants and not talking about having backing tracks and all that kind of stuff. But man, if you're a drummer, if you're a guitar player, if you're a bass player, and you're playing extreme forms of music that rely on extreme speed, youthful energy, functioning limbs, functioning tendons, and quick moving hands, trying to do something extreme for decade after decade after decade, well, that might not be the best business model. Now, why do I say that? We've all seen now that the rock era of music, the classic rock, the music that I grew up on, playing on the FM radio dial, driving in your car, turning on the classic rock station and listening. Those acts are slowly but surely all retiring. They're either retiring because they pass, or they're retiring because they can no longer do the job. Playing live is a challenging thing. The travel can be very challenging. The lifestyle can be challenging. The hours can be challenging. Getting from point A to point B can be even more and more challenging the older that you get. And, we're seeing the classic rock guys now. Classic rock was still kind of steeped in the blues, but it's amped up blues. It's high energy blues in some cases, not all. And, it got harder for a lot of these bands to carry on. Guys would have to lose members and they'd bring in a guy that's a little bit younger or maybe has less miles on him, less road miles. You're starting to see those bands fall by the wayside. I did a video before, about the retirement of these classic rock bands and how we're slowly but surely losing them. Now, I know the Rolling Stones are still going. And, there's something to examine there, though. What were the Rolling Stones early in their career? Well, they were really just a bunch of British guys that got together and played American R&B, blues, and, early rock and roll, Chuck Berry. And they are probably the closest act to being a classic rock act that's directly connected to the blues, and maybe the purest form of the blues in a way. Now, I always thought that the Rolling Stones, in the 60s, they didn't quite start to find their sound until they started writing their own songs. But man, the first couple of Rolling Stones albums, it's really, they're not as good of a blues band as the originators of the style. But what they had going for them is the fact that the British bands, the British invasion became a thing and became a very hot commodity in the music business. And teenage girls in the United States, after the Beatles had come and sort of conquered America, the Beatles could only be in one place at one time. And so there was more doors opening for these British bands. And, the Rolling Stones, a label probably came along and says, man, the Beatles are blowing up. Let's grab another British band. And the Stones were grabbed right out of the clubs And there they are playing, Somebody to Love and Little Red Rooster and all of these, called Chuck Berry songs and stuff. And, they hadn't even established and written any good songs. They just got signed on the basis of, well, they're British, they look the part, and, we'll push them out there and maybe they'll write some songs. That kind of record deal would probably never happen today. You would probably have to show up and they'd have to go, oh, wow, you've got several hit songs here. We'll get behind you and we'll put some tour support behind you and all that. But back in those days, man, labels would develop an artist. They would sign you to a multiple album deal, and you would get a chance to develop. So the Rolling Stones, slowly but surely developed their sound, developed their writing team of Jagger, Richards, the Glimmer Twins. And, they found their sound, but man, it really, to me, wasn't till about maybe 68, 69, 70 that they started finding their sound. But they are the closest to blues. They are the closest derivative, rock and roll derivative of blues. And essentially, to this day, the Rolling Stones are probably as close to a blues band as you can get with not actually being a blues band. But is that the key to their longevity? If you were going to be the oldest and maybe the oldest guy outperforming now on a big level, playing big shows, and from what I understand, he's soon headed to retirement, but Buddy Guy, blues legend. Now I'm gonna put his age here. I don't know it off the top of my head. He's gotta be in his mid 80s, if not high 80s. He's still out there performing at a high level, still going out there and playing the blues. Is blues the ultimate genre for musical longevity? Many of the blues greats played well into their later years, whether it's B.B. King or, Muddy Waters or any number of the legends of the blues. If you think about it, blues is a music that is based on feeling, and it is based on what you have that night. You're not going to go play a blues gig and play your solo note for note every night and here's my note for note solo and run off the stage. It's all about the feeling and the emotion of the night. And as you get older, your audience gets older, and you play what you have. What do you have tonight? Maybe tonight I've got a little extra in the tank. And maybe the next night, that's all depleted. But it's okay because it's blues. It's okay to be imperfect because it's blues. It's okay to have some of those bends go flat. It's blues. It's okay to bend them sharp because I've got extra in the tank tonight. Or maybe I don't have complete control of my hands anymore. Maybe this intro sounds a little rough tonight. It's okay. It's the blues. Blues is the music that allows you to express your soul. And much like jazz, didn't Roy Haynes just die and he was like 90 years old? Now, I don't know if he was still performing. Let me know in the comments. But jazz, I would say, is right there with blues in that it's all about what you have that night, what you have in your tank, and expressing that. So perhaps blues and jazz, while they are genres that maybe don't get you to the top of the pop charts, occasionally maybe a blues guy gets there. Maybe like a John Mayer does a blues thing and gets to the top of the charts. But John Mayer has positioned himself as a blues musician, as a jam musician, and that might be another thing. The Grateful Dead, they are still playing. What are they calling it these days with John Mayer on it? I can't even think of it. Let me know in the comments. But they're very much based off of the jam. Now, their drummer just retired a little while ago, or retired from Dead and Company. That's what it is. Yeah, Dead and Company. And that's the hardest position in a band is probably playing drums and having to hit those drums every night and keep tempos. And people have been saying that Dead and Company, had the tempos were kind of slow. Well, they're older guys, but they're improvised music, expressing what you have in the tank that night. If you have a little extra, you give the audience a little extra. If you don't have as much in the tank tonight, then you coast through this performance and get somewhere where you can get some rest and recharge. Is the key to musical longevity and long musical life improvisation. Maybe that's the key, because the key is if you're improvising, you're not expected to play something perfect every night. You're just supposed to give it your all. You're just supposed to go out there and give the audience what you have. And the audience, because you're giving them what you have, they understand you're older. They're not expecting you to go out and sing the high notes, note after note, and Don't Stop Believing. They're not expecting that because you're playing improvised music. And so when you're playing improvised music, you can look at the set list and go, yeah, we're not playing Don't Stop Believing tonight. Let's jam over So What? Or let's jam over All Blues. And or let's play this, or let's play that. And you're giving the audience what you have. You're giving them a personal experience. Night after night, you're improvising. You're keeping your brain active. There's no autopilot on an improvised gig. You're thinking the whole time. Is this the key to keeping your brain smart? To keeping, those cobwebs at bay? Keeping the creative juices alive, playing blues, a music that's not all about jumping around on stage. Now, I know a lot of blues performers put on energetic performances and do some of the classic tricks of behind the neck and all this kind of stuff. But as you get older as a performer, the histrionics and the trickery, they kind of fall by the wayside. It's just you and that instrument playing to the best of your ability, and is the key to longevity in music. Playing improvised music, less popular music, but going out there each night and giving the audience a unique experience from night to night. Playing blues, playing jazz, playing improvised rock. You may have just found the fountain of youth in a career in music is finding the right genre so that you can play into your later years.